Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I'm back in the States so we can all relax. Welcome to D-Backs Dispatch here for your. I don't know how the stream's going to go today. I may go on tangents. I may get frustrated because this was a pitiful 3-game series. But we are here to discuss the D-Backs versus Twins from Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. If this is your first time, make sure to go ahead and check us out. We are also part of AZ Snake Pit by SB Nation. So make sure to go ahead and check them out over there. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe here on YouTube and give us a follow on Twitter if you're seeing us on Twitter. Gabe, how are you feeling after this 3-game series?
Just mentally and emotionally drained. Like, this was just so bad. And it's something that I've talked about before in other episodes where I just want a competitive game. Like, these last 2 games were not competitive at all. They were over by the second. Like, you can't have this happen over and over again. This happened twice. And I know the Twins are a very good team, but we are halfway through the season. We're 81 games. And if you look at the schedule, if they're to try to win the exact same amount of games as they won last year, they would have to go 45 and 36 from here on out. And looking at the schedule, we have the Athletics, and so they have to sweep the Athletics because after the Athletics, we have 12 games versus the Dodgers, Padres, Braves, and then the Blue Jays. So we're going to hit a gauntlet pretty soon after this series against the Athletics. So hoping for a sweep, because if we don't sweep, we could be going into the All-Star break completely out of the wild card.
Where then we'll become sellers at the deadline, not buyers, which could be interesting. We'll definitely hopefully not have to get into that when we cross that bridge. I really don't want to have to do that, but we all know that sometimes that World Series hangover is a real thing, as both us and the Rangers have struggled all season long. So if it makes you feel any better, Rangers are also not playing that well either. Brett, how are your fingers?
Whew. Oh man, my fingers are a little tired. My brain is more tired than my fingers because my brain goes faster than my hands could even type at this point, man. It was
So for those of you that don't know, the reason I asked Brett is he has written up 2 articles in about the past 48 hours. He did one on our draft video, which is on the channel. Make sure to go ahead and check it out. Brett did a fantastic job. I'm working my way through it. I really enjoy it. I'm definitely learning some things about the MLB draft that I personally did not know. So it was very informative for me. So yeah. But yeah, no, Brett did a lot of typing, so that's why I asked how are his fingers, and he did. And when he did the recap for Game 3, which I'm sorry, I am so sorry about that. Like that,
I'm not gonna lie, it was definitely kind of fun because if it was one of those, if I wasn't having to recap it, I probably would have just stayed in the game day thread, had the game like the Snake Pit thread, had the game day app open, checking it periodically to see if they're scratching and clawing back at all, but not really watching it. I mean, it made the day go by quick, at least at work. So there's always, a bright side to everything.
Definitely. So let's just get right into it. We won Game 1, by the way. So there's the positive for the series. 7 straight series opening wins, by the way, which boggles my mind. We've won every single one since we played San Francisco at the beginning of the month. So yeah, we won all of those ones, but outside of that, the series wasn't the most fun. Was started by Brandon Pfaadt, who was cruising. He was dominating through 6. Yeah, like he hadn't really given up anything. I'm like, oh, is this going to be the one start where he doesn't have a blow up inning? I should have shut my mouth. I really should have said it. He gives up a 3-run homer. homer, by the way, barely clears the fence. Barely. Like, if Gurriel is able, I think, to get there sooner and maybe time it better, maybe he can rob it. But Jeffers hits a 3-run homer, so it's tied and he's done there. Question for you, Gabe. Did Torrey keep Fott in too long, even though he was at 68 pitches through 6 innings? Or was this because Fott hung a slider in the middle of the strike zone?
I think it's kind of both at the same time, because I mean, Fott was cruising, like he looked really good, but this was probably the 4th time, or if not the 3rd time through the order. They had pretty hard contact against him in the at-bats before. But when you get to this point of the game, like Torrey has to have somebody warming up. Like we have a really, really good bullpen, at least, our A guys like Ginkel, Seawald, Thompson, and Martinez. They're studs. Like you should be able to let your starter go and then, bring in the bullpen arms. But since he was at 68 pitches, coming to the 7th, I can see why he left him there. But after he got one out and they gave up a walk, which he hadn't really done all game. Like at that point, I feel like he was looking a little bit out of sorts, and then he gave up the single. And I feel like that's maybe when Torrey should have taken him out, just because, I can understand why he left him in, just because he wants to let him work out, work these kinks out, because come playoff time, if they make the playoffs at this point, they have to do this on their own. Like Torrey can't just go and save them every single time. But that's what he did during the playoffs, and that's why Fott was so successful, because he would get to 5-6 innings, and as soon as the 3rd time through the order came up, boom, he would take him out, put in the bullpen would get the job done. And I know we have it in the stats. They are, let's see real quick.
Before this game, 1-35 being down by 2 runs.
Yeah.
2 runs or more.
Well, okay, here it is. D-backs 18-2 when using Ginkel, Thompson, and Seawald. So I guess this was 17-2. So these are guys that you trust and you should be able to trust in these situations. I think Torrey maybe should have trusted Ginkel to get the job done, especially because it was already 1 out, 2 guys on 1st and 2nd, and you're kind of just waiting for that blow up inning by Fott. But he shouldn't have hung the slider. But also, Barnhart later on said that he's the one who called for the slider, despite the fact that was Jeffers? Jeffers? Yeah. Despite the fact that Jeffers had just hit, I think he had like a double or something like that the other time against the slider. So Barnhart called for a slider, and as a veteran catcher, you have to know better than to throw a slider to a guy who knows how to hit sliders like that. Unfortunately, he left it hanging. Maybe if he did a better slider, maybe, who knows? But either way, I think there's a lot of blame to go around in this time. Fott should have made a better pitch. Barnhart shouldn't have called a slider because he knew that he could hit sliders, and Torrey probably should have taken him out sooner.
So what's interesting is this was his only hit of the game. He had a walk and a fly out in his 2 previous plate appearances. So I think, but
I think it was the hard fly out. Then I think the fly out was on like a slider.
He had a few pretty hard hit balls, I believe.
Yeah,
sweeper. Yeah, that's sweeper. Yeah, he hit it like really hard. Yeah.
So this is really hard for me to like. What's the right move? I'm like, he's at 68 pitches going in, but I think, like you said, gave up a single and a walk. So maybe. Wondering if Torrey was like, if he can get this guy out, he's good. But when a guy is mid-70s through the 7th, you're like, oh, he's got plenty left. And he had been cruising up to that point. It's just frustrating to watch because this happens every start with Fott. He has 1 blow-up inning. That's why his ERA is around 4. It's the reason. And it sucks because he's been our most consistent dominant pitcher all season long. Same question to you, Brett. Is this more on Fott or is this on Torrey? Just sticking with this guy for too long.
The beautiful thing about hindsight is, it's hindsight. You can't go back and change, but you have the knowledge that you do. So I mean, with it's I think it's kind of a mixture of both things. Like, with the day off on Monday, going into the game on Tuesday, your entire bullpen's rested. This is, it's not the team a team in the same league as you, like it was against the Phillies. It's not even like they're in the same division. Like the Padres and Dodgers series coming up. But the Twins are still a good team, a team you want to prove that you can play good baseball against. And like you said, with Brandon Pfaadt having his blow up issues, or his inning of having a blow up, to me, it's one of those where I don't have any issues with him going back out there for the 7th, especially with the 68 pitch count and all that. Like, to me, that's a no brainer. I don't see how anybody would question that just at all. I'd like genuinely, it's like you gotta let him keep cooking. Like he was genuinely cooking. He did not really show any signs that he was getting figured out. And then of course 7th inning kind of hit a wall. Trying to find the actual sequence of events as it was happening. But me personally, I probably might have taken him out after Buxton got that hard hit single to make it runners on first and second, just for the fact of it's like, hey, you know what? We're going to keep you in this game, or like we're going to take you out of this game just so you can at least end on a high note, like with his track record, with whether the games where he does pitch really well, it doesn't have a blow up inning, but the offense doesn't show up at all. Or a game like this where the offense shows up finally enough to at least give him 4 runs, but then, even Barnhart admitted himself, like you're talking about, Gabe, probably shouldn't have called a sweeper. Obviously, the location doesn't help at all. But it's one of those
middle
of the plate. I personally would have taken him out after he let Buxton get on, just to kind of, because again, even if the same situation happens and Jeffers hits a home run, which even looking at a Baseball Savant, it turns out that is actually a home run in every single baseball park except for the Orioles with their new wall.
No, there's no way that's a home run at Fenway.
Yeah, Baseball Savant, Brian Jeffers off Brandon Pfaadt, home run, 101 off the bat, 367, 40-degree launch angle, home run in 29 ballparks.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm just trying.
So even if he still hits a home run with Ginkel or Thompson, or even if you brought in J-Mart, try to give J-Mart some more high leverage situations like we've been talking about, and even if one of those guys gives up the home run, yes, Fott's still not on the hook, or he's still not eligible for a win, but at least he's knowing like he's not the one that had that kind of like he didn't have to worry about getting to the finish line just short, like just getting right there, and then you trip on your shoelaces and you literally like knock out 4 teeth on the concrete and you don't even finish the race. Like it's again, hindsight is a beautiful thing. I personally don't see the issue with him going out there. But again, once he was starting to get hit around a little bit, Santana worked a pretty good at bat. I believe Buxton's single in that inning, because I'm looking it up right now.
Is that the one that like ate up Jerry?
Yeah, that was the one that ate up Perdomo. So it was even a tough play on Perdomo too. So that's why I'm like, again, I can't really be too upset with. Yeah, because Correa started off the inning with a 3-pitch ground out. Santana worked a walk, and that's where the fact that he had a first pitch strike and then just 4 non-competitive pitches, that's where the red flags would have gone up a little bit. I get Torrey still wants to trust in his guy, but again, rested bullpen. You want to give him and on a high note, maybe even take him after the Santana, because then Buxton, first pitch sweeper way off the plate that he is just aggressive for. He was probably looking for the sweeper, just chased a bad pitch. Second pitch, sinker on the hands, lays off. Third pitch, sweeper, basically in the same exact location that Jeffers smashed for a home run. Literally the very next pitch. Not even an extra pitch later, like very next one. So
107 exit velo too.
So I personally would have taken him after the Buxton one, but I can't fully knock Torrey on that one just because of where Fott's pitch count was. If Fott would have gone into that inning in the 85 range and then had the at bats to Correa, Santana, and Buxton, and he kept him in there still fully, like that's just all Torrey. But I think it's just a mixture of Brandon just lost gas. Tucker called the wrong pitch at the right time. Fott put it in the incorrect location, and the Twins hitters, Buxton and Jeffers, were just ready. They were prepared for what they read in their scouting report.
Yeah, and I'd have to go and look back at the game, but I'm curious as to when they got Ginkle up because he came in as soon as he gave up that 3-run homer. So obviously, was it after the Santana walk that he started getting up?
I was listening, and I believe it was after the Santana walk. It was either after the
Okay.
Santana walk or right when Buxton got a single. Like, because I do remember Bert going, Ginkle now up in the pen, getting loose. And then it might have been right when either right before or right after Jeffers hit the home run that they were like, well, hey, Ginkle, you 4 pitches, you're in now, dude.
So yeah, I'm wondering if like after the walk, like it makes sense after the walk. He's like, okay, we need to get you up because it probably takes you a couple of batters to get ready. So I'm wondering if Jeffers would have been his last batter regardless. It just didn't work out. Now, luckily, Ginkle came in and kept it tied at 4, and then we took the lead in the bottom half, and then the law firm of Ginkle, Thompson, Seawald continues to just be amazing. 18-2, basically since we got Seawald last year, which is amazing. I don't want to overuse them, but if we're tied, I'm probably gonna say we need to use them because outside of those 3 in Jmart, I don't trust anyone else in the bullpen right now. I really don't. So
I mean, it doesn't help when they're just most of the innings we've been getting lately from them, other than those 3, have just been blowout losses to where it's like, what's the point? We're not even like we're seeing Scott McGuff and Bryce Jarvis. Like, we're not really getting. It sucks 'cause we're not getting like good situations for them to show that they can still earn our trust. Like, I feel like I don't know, maybe because of them having blowout situations, I don't know. I think it could just mess with the mindset as a pitcher. You're just kind of going in just it's a mop up roll, whatever. Like, I'm not the one that got us in this situation, so if I make it worse, who cares?
Yeah, that's kind of how it's gone recently. We have 4 high leverage guys, and I guess it's 6, 7 other just mop up guys right now. Like, that's kind of the role for Jarvis, McGuff, Hughes. Like, that's kind of all they've been used for. Is literally just go out there, give us as many innings as you can, and then we'll see what happens after that. And it's just this can't keep happening. So we can't use them as much as we've been using them. Like, Jarvis should not be pitching as many innings. Hughes shouldn't be pitching as many innings. And it's just like the starting pitching has to be better. The offense has to be better because you can't get into these situations. Like I said, we are halfway through the season right now, and a lot of these guys have logged a lot of innings so far, maybe more than we really would want them to, especially if we make the playoffs. You don't want these guys to be at 60-plus innings each.
Yeah, that's like this team has like I said, 4 high leverage guys. Outside of that, and the fact is a lot of the starters aren't going deep, so we've had to bridge that gap from the 3rd, 4th inning to the 7th. So we have to use these guys like McGuff, Hughes. I don't know how to say the guy's name we got off of waivers. He's been decent, but he's also had a couple of not great outings. But I will say we blew a 4-run lead. We scored 4 runs in the first 2 innings. We had a first inning home run here by Ketel Marte just over the wall into the Twins bullpen. Carroll ripped a rocket when he got his single here before Marte. Marte ends up getting the go-ahead run on a hustle single here. Like, this was huge. Like, if Marte wasn't as healthy, like we had seen in years past, he doesn't hustle that out. Domo doesn't score. Who knows how the rest of the game goes? So my question for you, Gabe, how much longer can we rely on this entire offense just being Marte? Like, is this gonna be something where he eventually is gonna go and get cold? Do we like
Yeah.
who else do we need to step up? Is it Carroll? Is it Walker? Is it Jock? Like, who needs to step up so that Marte is not the only one doing something?
Yeah, right now we have three guys who make a combined $45 million, which are Carroll, Gurriel, and Suarez. Those are the three main guys you need to be getting hot because Walker, I mean, he's been hitting home runs. He's been a little cold lately, but he's been getting those doubles and home runs. So he's doing his part. Gurriel has been coming around. He's been a lot better as of late. Not getting too many RBIs, unfortunately. Um, but same with Caro and Suarez. Like both of these guys have to show a lot more pop, and especially Suarez. Like, goddamn, like he's been so frustrating to watch. And it's not like Kevin Newman was all that great on defense today either, which cost them. But still, is like he went 1 for 3. Like Suarez hasn't gone 1 for 3 since this game.
Suarez
The other,
is hitting like 190. It's so
he's hitting 192. His OPS is like at 580. Like I made a meme about it. It's like they replace Emmanuel Rivera with a $15 million Emmanuel Rivera. Like might as well just kept him from last year at this point. But they have quite a few guys on this roster who should be carrying the offense, and they just haven't been all year. It's literally just kind of been Marte who's been the most consistent hitter. He's had his on base streak, he's had his hit streaks. Carroll finally is coming around a bit, but he can only do so much when he's not showing as much power as he did last year. He has 2 home runs on the season. You want him to hit more than that because if he's leading off an inning and he gets on first, when we've said it before, he causes a lot of damage and everything. But if Cattell, let's just say Cattell strikes out, and then what do? You have 1 out, Carroll maybe at second. And do you trust Walker and then Gurriel to get the run across? Because I kind of don't. Not really. Not with the way this thing has gone. But I mean, kind of like the more reliable guys that we've had have just been Jock and Cattell. And Jock doesn't play every day. Like we have a lot of issues with runners scoring position in general. But I think most of these guys, the entire lineup, other than Cattell, has to step up because I mean, we scored 6 runs today. They scored 3 yesterday, and they scored late. Like we can't have these games when they keep doing this. Like they have to show up early. They have to keep scoring because they scored pretty early in this game. Then they just were completely shut out until the bottom of the 7th. Like we can't keep doing this. We have to score often and score consistently because that way you keep the line moving, you keep the pitchers honest. Like it causes a lot more issues especially like if you're making the pitchers work, especially in that first game of the series. Even if it's close, at least they're using their high leverage guys, so at least you see them. So come the second, third game, they've already used their big bullets out of the bullpen, so you know who they are, you know what they look like. But I don't know how long we can keep relying on Cattell. Maybe we can just keep on relying on him all season. That's why he's an MVP candidate for a reason. Because right now the Dodgers are kind of relying just solely on Shohei.
Yeah. So Carroll here has a slugging of 310. It's bad. It's bad. Now, he doesn't have a lot of homers. He has 6 triples, though, which does count towards your slugging. But last year, he had 30 doubles, 10 triples, and 25 homers. Like, we need that power stroke. Like, that's what we really need from Carroll. Gurriel is actually, he's batting 264. He's driven in 45. I would say that's successful. And Walker's hitting 249, 17 bombs with 51 driven in. So if you look at that, you're like, offense seems to be doing it. And I think Jock's at 10 homers, 32 runs driven in. So they're all if you look at that, it looks like they're doing it, but we've had so many games where just influx of runs. And then we have a period of 3 or 4 games where offense is like, we need to put them on a milk carton because they're missing. Like, it's been that bad. But same question to you, Brett. Who do you feel needs to step up? Is it Carroll? Is it Gurriel? Is it Walker? Is it Suarez?
I mean, I think the one that I would personally want it to be is Suarez, just because, again, you got to have your third baseman and your first baseman are like usually your two sluggers in the lineup. And our first baseman's doing his job, third baseman not so much. Gurriel, like you mentioned, Brandon, it's good to see him actually getting his average and everything up. He had another multi-hit game in, I believe, the finale of the series. So he's doing really good in June alone.
Garbage time. So I'm like, does that actually count?
I mean, yeah, but I saw in June he's hitting like 312, like hitting over 300 in just this month alone, which not a small sample size. Good to see. I think the biggest key is Carroll, man. Like we've seen it in the games when he's actually consistently able to get on, when whether it's a walk, actually getting a base knock, even in this first game when Domo got that 2-out walk in the 7th inning. Corbin, it's not a flashy base hit, but hey, a borderline broken bat base knock to the center fielder is still a base knock. Still moved Perdomo over, which then led to Cattell obviously driving him in. If Corbin's not producing, Cattell, like it's one of those where we could have Cattell putting up MVP numbers all season long. We can have Peterson and Walker and Gurriel and even McCarthy, and obviously even Newman. Newman will have random games where he'll have a few RBIs and all that. But I still truly think it starts with Corbin Carroll, because other than when there's a lefty on the mound, he's going to be leading off in the lineup. And there's still times where he has some pretty good at-bats, and still some times where he looks he's outmatched, or he's too aggressive, he's in his own head, whatever it is. So I think if Corbin just can, again, consistently, we're seeing him still get better. His average is still up over like 210, which after being almost like 187 a month ago, already 212. It's a little bit of a improvement, but hey, an improvement is still an improvement. So if he can just continue his upward trajectory, and if Gurriel can stay hot for a little while, if Suarez can just find a modicum of power, just a little bit, he's driving in runs. Like you said, it's not like he's not every now and then coming up clutch when there's runners on. It's just he's getting more opportunities with runners on. It feels like that he's not coming up with anything where, it could be a game where he gets 3 at-bats with runners in scoring position. He gets a sac fly. Yeah, cool. You got a sac fly finally. But what about the bases loaded with 1 out and he struck out? What about the runner?
32 RBI, by the way. 32.
That's what I'm saying. So it's not like he hasn't been somewhat productive at times. I mean, even in this game, he had a triple. I'm not going to call it a triple. I'm sorry.
It's a double and an error.
It's a double and an error. That's the Chase Field wall, which I saw something on Twitter. Very funny. They called it the modern day polo. Fucking hilarious. But Buxton just with that weird overhang misplayed a little bit weird. But even with his occasional RBIs here and there, he's just not what we expected. So if we can get Carroll, and even if we do let Gino go and Blaze slides in, just production from our third baseman. Those two would be immense for just getting this team back on track and in a more consistent offensive ways, like we've seen. Like we saw even at the beginning of the year and even last year, like just give me the answer backs. We don't like last year. We weren't like an offensive juggernaut, but they could come back at any point in the game.
Yeah, we're not getting that. We're definitely not getting that. Carroll, last 30 games, batting 257. His on base is 358. He's walking. He's getting, but his slugging 371. So that's, for me, that's the next thing I want to see from Corbin to see if he's truly out of it is slugging. So the doubles, the triples. I'd like to see some home runs, but I'll take doubles and triples. This was the only game that we won of the series. So we're going to move on to game number 2. We did find out before the game that Torrey's taken the entire staff, all the coaches and all the trainers, to Arlington for the All-Star break. So that was, I mean, we all knew it was happening because it's what happens when you win the pennant the next year. At least the head guy manages the All-Star team. So that was really great for them all to kind of get that recognition. I completely forgot that that's what happened when you win the pennant, only because we didn't
It
win the
doesn't
World
happen
Series.
often. It doesn't happen often for us.
Yeah, it has not happened in a while. So we know that if Marte wins the vote, he will be batting 1 or 2. So very excited about that. But let's get on to the actual story again. Number 2, the Jekyll and Hyde of Ryan Nelson continues, and it's I feel like I say this every stream that we have where he starts a game in the series. Like, it's so frustrating. This was a bad Ryan Nelson start. 3 2/3, gives up 6 earned runs on 10 hits. He had either 10 out of his hits or outs were hit 95 miles per hour exit velo.
Insane.
If you look at his pitch mix, he's 50% of his four seam fastball. That for me is too much because it's not good. It's just not good. Now, that's probably what the scouting report is they're like, just look fastball, because that's what he throws. So, Gabe, would you say his fastball use is the reason why he gets hit so hard, or is it just because Ryan Nelson's not good?
I think it's just, I mean, he's had 2 good starts up in this point. But I think it's just because he didn't use his cutter at all. It's not like he has an elite cutter, but he does get a lot of ground outs on that cutter, and it plays well off of the speed of the fastball because the cutter comes in, 90, gives a different look from his other pitches. But he used it, twice maybe this game, like 5 times. He barely used it at all, and like there was a couple times during this game where he had some nasty pitches. He folded what's his face like hardcore, and like he had a lot of Castro. It's not just him. Like in that first inning, he had guys gassing. Even the second inning, when he got the strikeouts and he got swings and miss, they were nasty. But it's just he was playing so much with that fastball. There's no reason why
6 times he threw his cutter 6 times.
6 times, yeah. There's no reason why he should be throwing the fastball, 50% of the time, because guess what? It's not an elite fastball. He's not throwing it up 99, 100 or whatever. It's 96, 97. So he has to play off his off speed, his cutters, whatever else that he has, is the changeup. You have to be able to work off of those pitches so then the fastball can look a lot more elite. But it just seemed like they were waiting for his fastballs, and he paid the price for it. He just looked terrible this game. And so far in his career, he has never been able to put together three quality starts in a row. And with how bad he was this game, it's like, I don't know what to do with him. I truly don't. We had this conversation about Tommy Henry the other day, which is just, what do you do with Nelson? Like, do you just keep trotting him out there until we get Gallen, Merrill, and Erod back, or do you send him to the bullpen? Like, what do you do with him? Like, he had pretty good starts in a row, and he looked like, maybe he found something, and then he has games like this, and it's like, what are you getting at him? I'm like, you call him Jekyll and Hyde. It's like, yeah, it's like he's either gonna be very good or very bad. Like, he clearly has something. You can't, have 2, 3, 4 quality starts, in a 6-7 game span, and not have something there. We also are 1-4 since we lost Gabby, so maybe it's just a lack of Ryan not having enough, a repertoire with Barnhart or with Jose Herrera. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe he needs Gabby there. Maybe Gabby needs to call better games with him. Like, maybe he just has a better eye for the swing paths of batters. But we talked about it that it's curious to see how good or bad the team is going to be without Gabby, and so far they've been very bad since they're 1-4.
I wasn't even keeping track because I knew it was going to be bad because it happened last year, and I was like, it's going to happen this year. So 1-4, that's great. That Yeah, that doesn't make me happy. Same question for you, Brett. Is it his over reliant on his four seam fastball, or is it just because he's just not a good pitcher?
I mean, I don't want to say he's not a good pitcher because again, we've seen him have.
I'll say it. I'll
I
say
mean,
it.
I
I'll
mean,
shout
again,
it. Ryan Nelson is not a good starting pitcher.
okay, that's the key word in there is starting pitcher. That's if you preface it with starting pitcher, yes, I fully agree. That's where I was going to go with. I wouldn't say he's a bad pitcher. I just think you got to utilize him in the right way. And the way we've been shown as a starting pitcher, I don't think he has it. Just kind of like with like Slade at times, where you could. There's nothing wrong with being an effective major league pitcher that can get guys out, like get 3 to 6 guys out, maybe even 9 guys out, and your day is done. There's nothing wrong with that. I know, especially with the way that like the games change, and a lot of people are like, oh my god, well back in my day, I saw Brandon Webb every week throw a complete game shutout, and he didn't whine about it, even though his shoulder blew out and his career ended early. So maybe sometimes you gotta take care of your pitchers a little bit when you can. But that's where I'm like, if you can get 6 outs out of him, like 6 good outs, that's where, like we just talked about in the first game, where if we have guys in the bullpen that are kind of just like meh inning eaters, like we don't really have much to throw out there, and they're just kind of out there to do it. I don't see why not giving Ryan a shot. We haven't actually seen him fully get a go out of the bullpen. Like Tommy Henry's had more of a chance to show he's a bullpen arm, and Tommy Henry does not have effective stuff to be coming out of the bullpen. He's like Ryan Nelson at least has a good fastball. There's a reason why, he was a bullpen arm in Oregon too, if I'm not mistaken. I believe at some point they tried to move him into there. He did really good. That's why when he was drafted, one of the things like they talked about, like, oh yeah, you don't really know his profile as a starting pitcher if he's going to pan out fully as that, but he has a really good heater with a off-speed pitch combo that could really work out of the pen. And like Gabe said, I think his cutter is his really good pitch. I know he's been trying to find that secondary pitch. I know his slider was his one coming out of college, but to me, I think his slider is a little bit too flat. And I know, again, some days, some of his pitches can be a little bit different. But I would just rather at least try to test him out in the bullpen before we just like get rid of him. Like, even Jarvis has his days, but I feel like Jarvis is better out of the bullpen because there will be times where he comes out there, he'll give you 3 innings, maybe gives up a run, but those are still good, solid innings to be eaten. I'd rather have Ryan Nelson do that than Scott McGuff, for fucking crying out loud at this point. I think we can get much more out of Nelson, just again, as utilizing him in the proper way. I think it's a little bit tough with the injuries we've had. If Gallen was still healthy the entire season, if Merrill was still healthy here, if Erod was here, we literally would not even have to worry about Ryan Nelson. He probably would be in the bullpen. But I think it's unfortunate that we have to kind of suffer with this, as Brandon put it, perfect way, the Jekyll and Hyde, Ryan Nelson flip of a coin. Two-Face, you don't know who you're going to get any given day. And at this point, we can't even really tell that, is it home Ryan Nelson or away? Because he's done good on both road starts and on home starts. He's done bad on road starts and on home starts. Like, I don't know. Again, I don't want to say he's like a fully terrible pitcher. I still think he's he can be an effective pitcher. I just don't think it's as a starter. Because even looking at his baseball savant like pitch selection and location, I sent it to you guys in the chat. He was throwing way too many 4-seam fastballs in the middle of the plate. Just counting off of here alone, there's 3 4-seamers, 3 curveballs, and one cutter that were basically just right on a tee to a major league hitter. A bunch of other fastballs in the middle of the zone. Like, he just struggles with location, and when he's on with location, everything else, he is effective. That's kind of what I'm going back to again. Out of the bullpen. Let him focus on a small sample size of like these 3 batters or these 6 batters. Don't give him a full game plan. Like, don't try to overwhelm him. Just get the effectiveness out of him that you can.
Yeah, I think also like if we get him out of the bullpen, like those fastballs straight down the middle, they're coming in at around 95 during the regular start. If he's coming out of the bullpen, you're talking about maybe 97, 98, because he doesn't have to rely on pitching 5 innings. So even if he leaves it hanging down the middle, that's probably the huge difference between a swing and miss and a strike. that 3 miles an hour difference. So I think he probably would have worked better out of the pen, and maybe you can pair him with Saccone maybe when Gallen and either Erod or Merrill comes back. I wouldn't mind seeing. I'm sure maybe there's some numbers or whatever, some nerd numbers that they have in the front office that will say that that's wrong, but I think it would work pretty well if they put Saccone, the first 1 or 2 times through the order and put it in Nelson. Like I feel like you can get 6-7 innings out of those two guys, and then during that point of the game, maybe you might have 1 or 2 runs out of your starting pitching, and then you can just move it on to Ginkles, Thompson, and Seawald, and there you might have a game 1 right there. Because like I said, I trust these guys in very short spurts. But when you're talking about leaving them out there for 3-4 innings, I don't think they have what it takes to get that, at least right now. They're still relatively young. Might need another year of development, might need a stint with another team or something for them to be fully unlocked, because they have, like I said, they have something. But unfortunately, Tommy Henry, I feel like he kind of is what he is. Guys like Saccone and Ryan, I feel like there's something there that needs to be unlocked. And if Brent Strom can't do it, I don't know if another team can, but I know that even with Lance Lynn, I know we destroyed Lance Lynn, but when he came to the Dodgers, his ERA was like 1.5. And the reason why is because he said when he got to the Dodgers, all they said was, throw as hard as you can, spin as much as you can, we'll come get you. That's what they told him. They weren't telling him get 5 or 6. They were like, literally do as, max effort every single pitch. And he did max effort, and he was throwing, 4 or 5 innings, but he had a 1.5 ERA, and that's kind of what I feel like the D-backs should do with these guys, is just go as hard as you can for as long as you can, then we'll come get you. But with the injuries, they can't really do that because they don't have enough bullpen arms or starting pitchers to do that.
Yeah, definitely a bummer. Moving on to our next topic. So we did talk about how we've won 7 series opening games in a row. When we go to game 2, it's the complete opposite. We've now lost 6 consecutive game 2 of a series. We haven't won a game 2 since June 4th against the Giants. We've been outscored. This boggled my mind. 11-50, 5-0. Like, this is just like, what is it? We've lost 6 in a row, been outscored 11-50. So, Gabe, what do we need to address to fix the issue? Is it we need offense to be more consistent, or is this due to lack of starting pitching depth and majority of the starters don't go deep in the game, so our bullpen is depleted each series?
I think that's what it is. It's just the starting pitching, especially when you get to the second game, like they don't have anything. I mean, there have been games where Brandon Pfaadt has thrown gems in the second game, but then the offense is just completely shut out. So I think it's both at the same time, but also 11 runs. How many games did you say it was? 7, 8?
6.
6. So they scored 11 runs in 6 games.
Yes.
That's a run and like an eighth, 1.8 runs or something. That's bad. You're not going to win many games like that. It doesn't even matter what the other team does. They can score 12 runs in that many games and you still lose.
3, 2, 1, 1, 3.
I'm counting 13 in actual game 2s going back to the Padres, because 3 against the Padres, 3 against the Angels, so you got 6. 2 against the White Sox brings you to 8. 1 against the Nationals, 9. 1 against the Phillies, 10. And then 3 against the Twins in game 2 yesterday, 13.
13. So how many games? 7 games?
In 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 game 2s that have all been losses. We've scored 13 and we've given up, 8, 20, 23. Jesus Christ. Yeah, this might be more than 50. This might be like 58 now. With the I don't know if that stat was a well, you continue your point, Gabe, while I get this math.
Yeah.
So
like I said, it's both. It's that these are the games started by most of these games were started by the back end of our starting pitching, but also the offense just isn't showing up at all in these games. And coincidentally, most of these games are we call them the punting lineups that Labella will throw out there. Um, so yeah, 13-50 in these games, like that's really, really bad. Like they're just not scoring. If they were, 40-50, you're like, okay, well, maybe it's probably the pitching, but it's clearly both because 50 runs in 6 games, that's 9 runs, right? Around 9 runs a game for the opposing team. I know there were some that were like the against I think the Padres scored like 13 runs or something like that. There were some
So
complete
if you
blowouts.
take like there's the Philly thumper we had last week, and then game 2 against the Padres we gave up 10. Like those are the two big ones. But if you
Yeah,
but
combined those are
still,
like half the runs right there with those two
yeah.
games. But still, it's still you're not, you want at least 5 runs a game from your offense, and you want 3 or 4 runs given up by your pitching. But right now, we're just seeing a complete lack of focus or something. Like I truly don't understand what it is because it seems like they give all they have for that first game, then just take their foot off the gas in the second game, and then try again for the third game. Like we made the point that they're not going to be able to win a bunch of series if they're not able to take that first game, and so it seems like they're like, okay, let's take the first game, focus all of our energy winning that first game, and then they're like, oh yeah, like I don't feel like playing tomorrow, so then they lose the second game, and then they're like, oh yeah, by the way, we got to win the series, and so then they try to win the series again, but it's just whatever they did to fix that issue in the first game, it boiled over into the second game. And maybe when they fix the second game, it's going to be the third game when they get blown out. So right now, they're just completely out of sorts.
If they can win games 1 and 2, I'm completely fine losing game 3 because that's winning a series. So I'll take what I can get. Brett, is there anything that you want to add to this, or do you feel like Gabe kind of just hit the nail on the head?
Yeah, I mean, there's really not too like it's just can't really be expecting like to win many ball games if you're like, again, I don't know if it's they're just going, you know what, we won the first game, if we lose this we can come back and fight, actually really try for that third game. Like I don't think that these are professionals. They're trying to win every game. But yeah, I mean, I generally don't know what it is. It's there's just trends. This entire season is just trends. Like in the first 2 months, the first game of the series that we were just constantly losing, the not being able to sweep. And now this month it's, oh, we win the first game of the series, we get blown out in the next one. And then maybe we fight for our life in the last one. It's kind of a hit or miss.
Yeah, not a fan. So hopefully we can get this fixed in the next series. I just want to see progress. Like for me, it's all on the offense. Like I don't want to say it's all on the offense, but when you score 11 runs in 6 games, it kind of is all on the offense. So moving on to today's game where we lost 13-6. Monty did not have a good day. 2 2/3, 8 runs, 4 earned, by the way. So for everyone that's like, oh, Kevin Newman is a better third baseman than Gino, he had his first opportunity today. Now, I get that he's never really played third base, so it's not really that fair to him, but he did have a really bad error. And then Jose Herrera had a catcher's interference in the same inning. So everything just kind of, which goes down as an error. So everything just spiraled out of control. 4 earned, 9 hits. His ERA is now over 6. So he went 2 2/3 in this start. He's just over 65 innings with an ERA over 6. Now, we did speak on the last pod how we thought that Monty had been pitching really well of late. Like he had strung together some good starts lately. And they brought it up on the broadcast that they think it might have been to do with the heat because it was really hot today. Now I get it's an inside stadium, but it still gets warm. So Gabe, do you think that contributed to his lackluster performance today? or was it just he just didn't have it today?
He probably just didn't have it today, but also with the heat, like it is different, especially now that it's turf. It gets hot. Like the turf retains heat, and grass doesn't. Like when they water the grass cools down. So if you were ever at Chase Field before they put in the turf, even on the hottest days, if you were near the actual field, it was a way cooler down there. Just after they would water the field, so it probably is a lot hotter for him than it normally is, and then it's a dry heat, then it's a humid heat. Like it's just really bad right now. So I think that's what it was. But also, I mentioned in the last podcast that he these next three or four series, depending on when he pitches, like he's gonna have a blow up game. And I think this is the blow up game that he had. Like he's still putting everything together. Like he's not in regular season form yet. He's still working through whatever it is that he missed out on during spring training. Because again, not only was it they're not the 30 innings or so that they get during spring training, but he didn't work with the coaches. He didn't do anything. There wasn't anything to get him in shape and ready for this season. And he's been pitching for the last 2 months or so. What was he doing before that? Like, what, working out at that Boris, commune or whatever that he has in Florida? Like, we don't know what he was doing during that time. Like, he doesn't seem like he's in that great of shape either. So I'm hoping, the All-Star break gives him a chance to reset, refocus, have him face, some of the guys in the ACL, face certain guys like in the minors or whatever it is to get him ready for the second half of the season, because we're going to need him desperately. And right now he's just not looking too good. Hopefully, I would believe his next start would be against the Padres. Hopefully he can resolve whatever issues. Again, I'm not asking for 7 innings from him. Give us 5, 2, 3 runs. Just keep us in this game, because we can't have the game be over by the second inning. Like, it's ridiculous. These last 2 games were over as soon as they started. Like, you're not giving the fans a good show. You're not doing, yourselves any favors either.
Yeah, that second inning was brutal. I think he threw 30 pitches in that inning. So
38.
30.
I counted. I got to watch it. I watched it all.
38. Wow. So are you on the same page that he just didn't have it today, or do you think there was another factor as to why he struggled so bad today?
I think it's a mixture of just a few things. I think one, maybe the heat, but I mean he pitched in St. Louis for a couple years. Like, St. Louis is probably way more humid than we are. Like, I know the dry heat and the humid heat is definitely different, but I mean, the heat definitely could have been a factor. I'm not saying it isn't. We've seen it even affect Merrill Kelly on days when he has to come out of the game. Exactly. I mean, I think it's a mixture of that along with the Twins. Again, the Twins are a really good lineup. I know, especially Royce Lewis, they hit righties really well. I'm gonna look up the lefty stats after I make my point, so I'm not just sitting here typing, trying to ramble on fine stats. But I think it's a mixture of, again, the heat, the Twins lineup just being really good. And I'm not going to lie, I think the little bit of the miscues in the second inning didn't help. The Ketel Marte making the little bit of a hesitation in trying to go to second base, realizing Buxton's too fast, trying to go to first base, not having enough time to actually get the throw there to get the runner out. Again, I'm not saying it's all on Ketel, but it's in a situation like that, you have to know who your runners are. You have to realize Buxton is one of the fastest baseball players in the entire league. Like, his knees are healthy. He flies. He's probably faster than Corbin. Willie Castro is not too far behind Buxton. He's not in the same level, but he can still fly down the bases pretty well. So that alone, I think, instead of having at least one out, runners on second and third, or even if he did by some miracle get the ball to second base at fast enough time to get Buxton like his original plan, there would at least still be one out. Then you follow that with just the unfortunate luck of that ground ball that was out of the reach for Newman. Domo made a beautiful snag. Obviously in hindsight, it didn't matter because of how many runs scored in that inning. But Domo keeping that ball in the infield was really, really huge at the time, because with Buxton running from second, he easily scores if that gets through his glove, because Gurriel's not getting to that ball. And even by the time him or Domo get to the ball, Buxton's already touching home. And then obviously the Kevin Newman error. We were all wanting him to play third, and of course, the one day that Torrey finally puts him at third, he gets a ball that it's not like an easy double play. It was
No.
one that kind of chopper tough play had to, if I'm not mistaken, I think it was like a jump throw, sailed it over Cattell's head. Ball goes into right field. 2 more runners score, makes it a 4-0 ball game. Because Monty had 8 runs total, but only 4 earned on the day.
Yeah.
So. Again, it's not like I'm not saying Monty like is blameless. Like obviously he definitely started to lose it, especially after some of the shit started to hit the fan. Kind of lost some of the control, left some more pitches over the zone, especially a few curveballs that started to get crushed by Correa and Willie Castro and Buxton, who was just an absolute menace the entire day. I personally think it's a mixture of all three. The Monty obviously not being as sharp, actually making mistakes with the heat. Also factoring in, but I think it didn't help how many mental errors and actual physical errors there were in just a short amount of time. Like even me watching it, I was like, this is going so fast. Like there's so much going on. There's like back to back to back to back to back, like just unfortunate, series of unfortunate events for the Diamondbacks, all in the second inning.
Yeah, that second inning was really, really tough to watch.
Yeah, and also it's like Oscar saying like about the defense making it 5 outs. It's like, especially with that first error by Newman and then by Herrera, it's like I can see why in his head, he's thinking maybe like, well, I'm getting the ground outs that I want and need, and my defense isn't getting the outs. Like they're not making the plays that they're supposed to. And so he can start trying to go for the strikeouts and flyouts, which isn't his game. He relies on groundouts. So if he's trying to get flyouts and strikeouts, well, that's when they start hitting him harder. That's when the balls goes over the fence. So, like, it is a mental game, and maybe he should have followed the script a little bit too. But it's kind of hard. You put yourself in that position where you're like, I'm getting my groundouts and nothing's happening. Like, I have to take charge of this, because we've seen a lot of players do that. Like Scherzer, he gets mad and then just starts blowing cheese, and then he gets out of the inning on his own because he can't rely on his defense. And there's certain guys that have to do that. Same with Gallen too. There's times where there's a couple errors and then he gets mad, he starts blowing cheese, he gets 3 strikeouts, and you can clearly see on his face like he's pissed off at his defense.
Yeah, and it's like you said, like he's very, very sinker heavy, so he's relying on his defense to make those plays.
Yes, a quick point that second inning, it wasn't even like the Twins were crushing you. He didn't give up a single hit over 94 miles an hour. Like the Ryan Jeffers single to lead off the inning was an 82 mile an hour exit velo. Buxton swing 93 exit velo. Willie Castro on his ground ball to Cattell 90. So it's not like it wasn't hit slow, but it wasn't really hit like fast enough to get the double play going. Manuel Margot in play run 93.5 miles an hour exit velo. Royce Lewis, his one to Kevin Newman, 81 miles an hour off the bat. Jose Miranda, his, I believe, sac fly, 92 miles an hour off the bat. Carlos Santana, I think it's a double. I just know that drove in some runs off of an 80 mile an hour exit velocity. He just very bad luck that entire inning. All in one inning, just the defense was not with him. The batted ball luck was not with him. His control was not with him after having to throw 38 pitches and really labor. So,
yeah, like it's really hard to kind of compose yourself and try and get through the rest of the game at that point, because you're like, well, is my defense going to be able to make plays if I pitch to contact here? So it might have been just after that, he's like, I don't know how the rest of this is going to go. The only real, offense didn't completely give up in this game. Like they did make an attempt, but pitching also, like every time we would score, Twins would answer back. So it just didn't go well. Cattell did have another home run in this game. Cattell's on fire right now. Like it's simply amazing to watch. And phase 1 of All-Star Game voting concluded today. Cattell did make it to phase 2. So starting on Sunday, basically voting starts all over again, ladies and gentlemen. It's just going to be him versus Luis Arias. We need to come
One
in.
vote per day.
Yeah, 1 vote per day. Now, is that still per email?
Yes. So if you have 25 emails, you get 25 votes per day still. If you have 10, still get 10. So use those extra emails.
Yes, because we need to vote in Ketel Marte. Like, Ketel needs to be the starting second baseman for the National League in the Midsummer Classic this year. Like, I get Arias is having a good year. He's not even playing second base right now. He's playing first base. So I'm hoping, due to the fact that there's just the two choices, that a lot of the national media and like other fan bases will see and will vote for Ketel. Yeah. Like Sir Hemo says here, bring out those burner accounts. Yes, go ahead there and do that. So I may set a reminder on my phone each day at like a certain time. All right, go ahead and vote. Because there were a lot of times where I would forget to do my 5 votes. And so I feel kind of bad about that. But I want to make sure that we do everything we can, because Ketel deserves to be there. He's been the most consistent player. Even though the national media will never say it, he is a top MVP candidate. Like, what he's doing, like, he's the reason why we're just at just under 500. If he wasn't having the season he was having, we'd probably be 5 or 6 games under easily. So I'm all for doing whatever we can. I don't know, like, we may need to do daily reminder tweets for everyone to make sure to go ahead and vote. Like, we need to do our job, D-Back Nation, and get Ketel Marte as the starter in the Midsummer Classic. So, Gabe, anything you want to add there about Ketel for the All-Star game?
Yeah, just go out and vote. Go out and vote for, the guys who actually deserve to be there, not just whoever the hell, the fan vote asks for. Ketel deserves to be there. He probably deserved to be there last year. Unfortunately, he wasn't. He was talking about he's an MVP pick this year, even though the national media thinks, Harper's like 1.5 or whatever is better than Marte's 4.
Yeah. Brett, any thoughts there you want to add about Ketel?
Yeah, I think that, I mean, I'm fully guilty of it myself. I love Corbin Carroll. He is our
Oscar.
sweet time boy. He's our baby. He is the rookie of the year. He's the exciting superstar. But I feel like it's time for us to, fully recognize we've had a superstar here this entire time. We just haven't fully yet come to appreciate him because we were still hung up on our previous ex-superstar, Paul Goldschmidt. Ketel Marte is already up there in a lot of categories for like 3rd all-time Diamondback. And like, he's right behind Goldie in doubles this year. Like, he's already almost at 30 career WAR. Ketel Marte deserves to be given the kind of all-star voting love that we gave Corbin last year, that we gave Gurriel last year, that we gave Perdomo. Like, every day we were using all these emails, making sure like Corbin was one of the top vote getters. Like, the fact that Ketel Marte has had to have barely beaten Luis Arias out by this much. And I promise you a lot of that is because a majority of baseball fans are starting to recognize Ketel now, which is great. But I think us as D-backs fans have to do a better job of fully embracing and appreciating really what he's done for us, especially not even just this year, just in his career. He's signed 2 contracts, like 2 extensions here to stay here, like both really team friendly. He talks about nothing but how much like he loves this place, like he loves his team, the fan base, like he loves it here. He, even when he was being interviewed by Jody, he just said like, thank you very much. Like, he's a very humble person. Let's really show him like he missed out on it last year, and we definitely saw like he took that personally. He's us, it's just the all-star game, never, but it means something to these guys. Like, not every guy, like it really does. So we got to show them there, like, hey, you know what? You are having a better year than you did in 2019 when you started the first time. You deserve to start again, and you are going to start again because we are going to show up and stuff those boxes.
I mean, it's not boxes.
It fits the metaphor. Okay, gosh, Brandon, let me cook.
Cattell is on his way for me to being maybe top 3 best D-back of all time. Along there with Randy and Gonzo. Like, I personally feel, this might be harsh, hot take, that in terms of a lifetime D-back, he's higher for me than Goldie. Mainly based on what he did last year in the postseason. Goldie didn't really do anything in the postseason for us.
I just want to remind you really quickly, of what Paul Goldschmidt did in his 2011 to 2018 run. I'm not saying that Cattell isn't on his way. If Cattell can keep doing what he's doing, but again, there's a reason why a lot of us were hung up on Goldschmidt for so long, and that's what I'm saying now. Cattell deserves that love now. But I mean, even I was looking at it. Cattell's top 3 in WAR for D-backs all time. Goldie's at 39.9. Gonzo's at 30, Cattell 25.9. Batting average all time, Cattell Marte is 6 in all time D-backs. He's getting up there in on base percentage. He's top 10. He's getting it there in top 10, if not top 5, in probably every major statistical category when it comes to the Diamondbacks.
I said what I said. So
yeah, I disagree just because Goldie here was a 300 average, 900 OPS guy over and over, and a Gold Glove. Cattell doesn't have a Gold Glove. He's I think 280, around 800 OPS guy. So stats don't lie, Brandon.
Hey, but Marte is on his way. If you ask me this again in 2-3 years, depending on how he's going, I could probably, you could probably sway me a little bit.
Yeah, I think if he keeps this up for maybe 4 or 5 years, if he's at this level that he is now, I mean, you could be talking, a Hall of Fame guy too.
I said what I said, and I will not back down from it. So Zach Gallen had a bullpen session today that he did with Gabby. We didn't hear any news of any setbacks, so it's pretty much confirmed that Gallen will be making the start on Saturday against the Oakland A's, which make sure you go if you want that Cattell Marte bat flip bobblehead where the bat actually flips and rotates. Just a reminder, everyone, that's a 1 p.m. first pitch. It is not a normal 5 o'clock first pitch on Saturday. So if you're going, just a reminder, it's at 1 o'clock. So if you want that bobblehead, you're probably going to have to get there at like 10 o'clock in this heat. You have fun with that. I'm not quite sure I want to do that, but I'm very, very relieved that there was no setbacks. It looks like Gallen's good to go here. Should be back in a couple of days. If you ask me, the corresponding move that needs to be made is send down Scott McGough. There should be no discussion. Scott McGough and either put Tommy Henry or Ryan Nelson in the bullpen. There's not a lot of thinking that needs to be done with this move.
Send down or send away?
Send him back to Korea.
I'd rather send away. I'd rather just let him go because I'm done with Scott McGough.
7.33 ERA in the season now and 27 innings pitched.
So bad. It's so bad. So I think we're missing Gallen more than people want to admit. The casuals probably don't know, but I'm watching this bullpen, watching these starters not going deep. We need Gallen so bad just to save the bullpen. So happy that he's going to be back. Alec Thomas had a couple of games in Reno, ends up going 1 for 7 in 2 games with a double and an RBI. So sounds like he's good to go. So maybe we get him back next week. That would keep me very excited. We need our young king vibes. I just want to see what this team is at full strength. So getting Gallen back, getting Alec back is 2 big players to get back to see what this team could be like. Pretty close to full strength. I don't think there's been any news on Erod. So I don't even know if the man exists. Like, does he exist? So we'll have to wait and see. So, Gabe, any thoughts regarding Gallon, Alec, or Erod?
Yeah, I think Erod is probably some like shell tax corporation or something. Just for they're just putting 25 million there for tax as a tax shelter. Because yeah, I mean, who's seen him? Like literally, there's no footage of him or anything anywhere. So it's conspiracy for you. But I'm just happy to see. Hopefully, we're getting two of our biggest guys back. Like we are still 3 games under 500. We have the chance to go over 500 this weekend. And so far, we've been missing our stars outfielder, our shortstop, our our ace starting pitcher, our ace B starting pitcher, the guy who was an ace in Detroit. Like we've had such bad injuries this season, and right now we're without our all star catcher. Like we're missing like 4 guys who could probably be all stars any given year and would be starters in any team in the league. So the fact that we've been able to hover around 500, it's a good sign at least that hopefully when they're healthy they can really get it going. Because like I said, they would need, in order to have 84 wins, they would need to go 45 and 36 the rest of the way, which isn't too bad. But I don't think 84 wins is going to be enough to get into the playoffs this year. I think you're probably looking at 86 or 88, just with the separation from the Cardinals and the Padres. So hopefully we get it going against the A's, and then hopefully by the time we get to the Padres, this team is almost fully healthy.
Fingers crossed. Brett, thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, when me and Spencer talked on our MLB draft video, which again, by the way, if you guys want to learn more about the draft or just in general, just to hear what Spencer's thoughts are, especially on the team in the season, talk about the end. But he brought up, like, if you would tell us that like 80% of our starting rotation would be like have missed most of the season, like or like maybe it was 3/4 or 4/5 of the rotation would miss 80% of the season combined. And we'd still be only 3 games under 500. You know, like Abe was saying, we're not out of it by any means with the way the NL has been so weak this year. It's not like in years past where, yeah, if you go into the All-Star break and you're like 4 or 5 games under 500, there's a very good chance you're not making it. We could just got to go on a run, and I think this weekend is a big key going against the A's. They're still a professional baseball team. They're still a feisty team, you know, but they're 26 and like 50 something. They're
29
not
and 54.
29 and 54. Thank you. Dyslexia sometimes. Beat this team up. Like just at least win 2 and do it in very convincing fashion. And I think it'll help them get enough confidence, and then hopefully they can, you know, just buy time until they get Gallon. And with the whole Erod thing, as a joke, maybe it's just the show, like you said, the fake account for Kendrick to buy all his baseball cards with, so he can just like, you know, launder the money to that account. You know, Eduardo Rodriguez can buy him his cards, but that's just me joking as a card fan. Yeah, I want Eduardo Rodriguez to get back. Just ASAP, please. I need to see some positive news. He wasn't like delayed. It's weird. Torrey wasn't saying he was, you know, having some setbacks. It wasn't like he was, you know, actually like re-injured. They just basically like he hasn't gone on a mound yet, and they're still gonna do MRIs. Like I don't know what's going on with him. But I mean, just getting back, I think Gallon will be a huge jump in the right direction. And a huge boost.
Yeah. I guess we could talk series preview. All I want is a sweep. Like if we lose one of these games, it's gonna be bad because we did lose 1 game to Chicago, but that's because Eric Fetty had a fantastic outing. Eric Fetty is a good pitcher. So pitching probables are Friday, Sears versus Slade Ciccone. Saturday, it does say TBD for us, but we kind of know it's probably going to be Gallon versus Hogan Harris. So I have no idea who that is. And then Sunday is Fott versus Medina. There's no reason we should not sweep.
Yeah,
And I
this should
think
be an easy sweep.
It should be. If it's not, then it's going to be
It-
because offense didn't show up.
Yeah, it's gonna be that, and then maybe Mason Miller shuts them down, in the ninth or whatever. Like that's kind of the only acceptable loss if Mason Miller just shoves. But yeah, you can't expect anything else other than a sweep, and they should sweep. If they don't sweep again, we have 12 games against 3 of the best teams in the league. If they don't sweep and lose the series, coming into the All-Star break, I think we're going to end up being sellers.
I really hope that we don't. Brett, any thoughts here for the A's?
Yeah, I mean, I think it kind of said I want to see them beat the shit out of them in at least 2 games. Do it with the Twins just did to us. Like, if we lose a game, like, God forbid, like, make it at least close, but just go out there and just like have the entire offense get a base hit, a couple knocks. Have this be the series where Gino maybe breaks out, or maybe Corbin has a multi-home run game. Just give me something clicking. Like, this is the series of any teams. Like, I know that we said it about the Red Sox, but just these bad teams, you gotta take advantage of them on your schedule because it doesn't get much easier after this. Like talked about earlier, they got some tough opponents after, so get it done. Get it done this weekend.
Yeah. So do want to appreciate everyone for stopping by for the pod here today. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe so you don't miss any of our future content. Make sure to go ahead and check out that draft video. Really, it's a really informative, really great video there with Blake. Sorry, Blake. Brett. So
and Spencer.
Yes, and Spencer. They both fantastic. It's very informative. So if you're wanting to learn a little bit more as to how the first-year player draft works, definitely go ahead and check it out. Make sure to check us out on Twitter if you're watching us there, D-Backs Dispatch. We also have our articles on AZ Snake Pit. So make sure to go ahead and check all of that out over there. We will see y'all on Sunday.